Hello everyone, we are back with a live critique. This time, this person is named Dylan, and he got a 10.72 average. You're going to be taking a look at that. I have not seen these solves yet, so let's begin. Let's just watch the first solve. Just go this way. Interesting. Okay. Cool. So, let's look at what happened there with this. So, he went for... I'm pretty sure Dylan is a purely white cross solver, which is quite common. Although color neutral is better. So, he went for... Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's a dual color neutral solver. So he did white and yellow. Or he did yellow cross this time. So, his cross pieces were... Okay, so he had something nice. Oh, he really had something nice. He has this... Oh, he has lots of nice things. Interesting, interesting. And yeah, he handled it pretty well. He had a 4-move cross, which unfortunately did break up this pair. So basically what he did was, instead of moving this blue-green line, this cross with the D move first, instead of doing the D prime as your first move of the solution, he did an F prime first. What that does is that moves this red edge over here without harming this cross line we have. So he does that. Oops. From this angle, looks like here. Then he does a D prime. The only unfortunate thing is the D prime does ruin this F2L pair. So what he could have done... I don't think he could have done something from here that would have been good. But, I mean, okay, first of all, his cross was good. This was a good cross. This was a 4-move cross, and even if you have a free pair, a 4-move cross that breaks up the pair is definitely better. 99% of the time. So, I do think that it's not the worst thing that you broke up that pair. Because, a lot of times going for... Did I miss-scramble? What did I do wrong? There we go. Okay. So, oops, let's put this over here. Let's make this a little smaller. Okay. So, you did the F prime, but honestly what you could have done is you could have done an F. That would have brought this pair up here, and you would have had this edge here, and then you would have been 1, 2, 3... Yeah, you would have been 4 moves away. So that would have been one extra move, which would have made a 5-move cross, which is really good, especially like 1, 2. So you put the green and blue opposite like that, and then R prime 3, 4, D2, 5. That's a 5-move cross with a really, really good start. We have a solved edge, a solved corner, and a free pair, so this is everything. You could literally, like, solve one pair, solve a pseudo pair, and then you have last pair. It's literally a 3-pair solution, after all. But that's not what you did. However, your cross overall was pretty good. Okay. So, what else could you have done? I'm looking at white, and it's also pretty... I don't know. You definitely made a good choice picking yellow. Could you have X-crossed this? I don't really think so. Maybe like... something like that. That's kind of dumb. That's too many moves. Overall, cross was good. Or actually, the cross solution itself was good, but was your execution good? Let's find out. Oh, okay. So you started with a Yeah, let me see how I would finger trick this. Honestly, I would rotate and execute it from red front and do R prime D prime F B2. That way you get a really easy cross to do, like, in terms of like how easy it is to finger trick. Doesn't really give the prettiest start, but yeah, just a thought. So, what did you do then? Oh, I see. So you did this green-orange pair. Ooh, Ben Barron is providing an interesting alternate cross. I want to check this one out. Alright, let's try what Ben Barron thinks. He's providing a wide U move solution. So, if we're doing Y2, so R prime, wide U prime, R? Probably from a different angle. Oh yeah, from here. It's R prime, wide U prime, R. Yeah, this is way easier. Thank you, Ben. That's much better. So yeah, you could have done red front, and instead of doing R prime D prime F B2, you could do R prime wide U prime R L2, which is arguably a better start for F2L. You could do something like this, and then the keyhole. I don't know, just a thought. So yeah, you had this green-orange pair as your first pair, and you also, by the way, hello Luke, how are you? Yo. So, okay, the problem was the way that immediately as you started this solution, you already did something wrong. So, don't take this edge out like that. It's good that you eventually inserted it into the back left, like this, L, U, L prime. That's good that you did that, and that ended up in the back left, because having your first pair in the back left is the best thing to do at your speed. Or the best habit to get used to at your speed. And what I think you could have done is from this angle. Here's what you could have done. Yes. So what you could have done is you could have rotated first. Let's just duplicate this tab. So we're here. And we just finished cross. So what you could have done a Y prime. So you're holding it with red front. And then, so this edge that you took out with a U and then an L, you're essentially doing this L move, but from this angle with an F move. And the reason that we're doing that is because we're taking this edge out to put it in the U layer, this orange-green edge. And the reason why it's so important to take it out with the red center being twisted, like so, is because now, even though the cross is messed up, we can insert this pair with 3 moves. And then we can undo the cross, which is a 5-move pair. So let's make that happen. Not many people take advantage of a edge being in the wrong slot and being a 1-move setup to a 3-move pair. Not many people know that, and that's something you could have taken advantage of. And it still would have been in your back left like that. And you would have had a decent continuation. That's not what we're looking at. Thank you for the follow, Garlic Hose. You would have, yeah, you had a pretty. This is a pretty good start after first pair, I'd say. This is pretty 1-2 lookable, you know, just like 2-gen, 2-gen, 2-gen. It's all 2-gen, or 2-gen within the pair. It's not like all 2-gen at the same time. It's RU, LU, RU. So yeah. Okay, so you did that pair, you took the edge out, you realized that this corner should have been here, so that was just a, little mistake. That's all good. Let's put it over here. And then I'm pretty sure... No, you didn't go for that pair, did you? Oh, you went for the blue-orange pair. Interesting, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so that gave you a free pair. You know what? So, this solution by itself is a really good solution. It's 2-gen, it's fast. How did you execute it, though? Okay, so you paused. How could you have not paused? So, you're taking out this green pair, doing that, and you're essentially doing that. And here, as you were inserting the green pair, once you're, like, first of all, you should not be looking at your F2L pair while you're solving it. You should already know the solution, which is not the case with your first pair. You had a lot of time trying to figure out what you were doing, which shouldn't happen. You should already just look at the pair and be able to close your eyes and do the solution. So, at the very least, like, at the end of your 3-move pair, at the end of your 3-move insert, I mean, you should have been able to start looking for other pieces, and seen this blue-orange corner, and known, or at least tracked it, that it doesn't go anywhere with LU, L prime. It goes down, but then comes back up, so it doesn't move at all. So you could have taken advantage of that and gone straight into this pair. I would have personally done it keyhole, like that, but that doesn't really give the best last two pairs. But you did it like this, which gave you essentially almost like one of the best last 2 pair cases ever. And you did it in a good way, so I'll go over that in a sec. Yeah, I think everything you did here was pretty... Actually, you know, you could have inserted this blue-red pair, and you also would have had this free green pair, which is kind of cool. And then you could have just inserted this corner 2-gen, you know, as your last pair, which wouldn't have been that bad. But honestly, the actual solution that you did and, you know, the way you picked your pairs is good. The only problem was the recognition. You took a lot of time to figure out what was going on, and that's because you weren't tracking your pieces while you were doing your previous pair. So you did that, and then yeah, you have this case, which is amazing. We have this blue-red pair. You would think to go for this free pair first, but it seemed to me that you knew how to handle this pretty well, because you're in home grip. Or at least, so this is where your hands were when you just finished the blue-orange pair. You're in home grip, you're doing the U prime, and here you could, you know, probably a less experienced cuber would insert the free pair first with F moves, or if they're less experienced with a rotation. And honestly, actually maybe inserting the pair first and doing the here. I mean, if you know VLS and stuff, you could insert the pair first and then, like, do fancy stuff from here. Oh, yeah, you could do this. Alright, I'll do that slowly. You could, like, sledge into F, inverse sexy F prime, R2, F prime, R, U2, R, U2, R prime. But that's definitely not something that you would see or use. And yeah, I just think the way you handled these last 2 pairs is perfectly fine. However, you might not have finger tricked them in the best way. You did that. You did that. Okay, so here, you did a right U. You did a U with your right index. And usually that's fine in most algorithms, but the problem was you have to regrip, or the way you regripped for doing index U prime, F prime, for FU F prime. And the problem with that is when you're doing a U with your right finger, that makes it so that you have to, you know, you're overworking your index finger because it's doing the 2 consecutive moves that are unrelated, a U and then an F move. So if you're forcing yourself to do that, you either have to do something awkward, or have to regrip, and you don't want either of those. So instead of doing the U with your right hand as you're readjusting this pair, do a U with your left hand, and as you're doing the U move as like a pull like that, you're readjusting, you're regripping your right hand to be ready to do the pair. So you're doing that. So it looks like this instead of this. Oops. Instead of this. Actually, whatever. It's very unnoticeable, but This definitely was a contributing factor to, you know, lost time in your solve. The regrips, unnecessary regrips, essentially. Not unnecessary, but hiding your regrips better. But also what I would do, I would personally just do that and then do a thumb. I do thumb F and thumb F prime. But yeah. And then you had a very, very nice F sexy F prime, which, funnily enough, cancels into the last pair. Okay, this is one of those things where I think you should, I feel like you should be able to see this. Like, if you have F sexy F prime, and you just inserted a pair like this, like here, and you're about to do the last F prime, you should be able to see that if you do an F prime, it's going to be, because it's like, it literally looks the exact same. It's like, yeah, there's almost no difference. So you should be able to tell that this OL is going to be F sexy F prime, which I don't think you did. Yeah, you took a little bit of recognition time, which is fine, but this is one of those cases where you really want to be able to see it as soon as possible, because it's just so short. And then a T prim. Let's see how you executed that. Wait, first you did the F sexy F prime. Yeah, you went from home grip, you regripped, did the normal thing. That's fine. I use that too. Did the thumb F prime. Oops, sorry about that. And then you regripped. You looked around, and then you did the T perm. And here's when you did something wrong. So here you shouldn't have regripped. You regripped to do the R. But why? Why did you regrip to do the R? There's no reason to. That's how much time did it take? It took 0.2 seconds for you to start your T perm after putting it in the right position. That's 0.2 seconds where you did essentially nothing. So what you want to do instead is start from home grip, and oh yikes. Okay. Pinch turn is pog? Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people say that, you know, in general. Like, I've 90% of my students, they use pinch for T-perm whenever I first have my first lesson with them. I always see people using pinch. Pinch is probably the most common thing I see people do, besides, you know, the regrip, which is very bad. Don't regrip. So in order to fix that, people tend to, you know, rely on doing, instead of starting from home grip, they start from like what's close to home grip, but it's just pinch grip, and they do RU, R prime U prime, R prime F, R2, and then they pinch again here, and then they're in a very awkward position where they have to do a thumb F prime with very little support, or regrip and do, you know, something. I don't know. Some people do lefty thumb, which is just atrocious. Do not do that. What you should do is you should start from home grip. This is not home grip, this is. And do R, and then U with the left index. The rest is pretty normal. And then the next U move, which is the third last move of the algorithm, you do it again with your left index. And then that way, you have the perfect opportunity to do the F prime with your thumb stably, because you have this index finger resting on top of the UR edge. And that's important, because if you don't have that index finger resting on top of the edge, then doing the F prime is a lot more inconsistent and a lot more risky. So instead of doing it like this, where it's like 3 regrips, or like this, where you pinch and you're left with an awkward finish, you want to start from complete home grip and just do it with left index pull. Yeah, I banned him. Don't worry. That execution is 100% valid because push you is slightly more awkward than pinch you. Okay. Push you is slightly more awkward? I disagree. I think pinch you is way more awkward because push you, you're starting from home grip, and your left index finger is moving from here to here. That's it. Like microscopic. That's almost nothing. So you can, like, here. This is a very easy position to put your left hand in. You just put your left index finger here, kind of curled, and then you push, like that. But if you want to pinch, then you have to put your right index finger all the way from over here, over to here, which is, you know, the entire cube basically, and you have to put your thumb 1 QB over, like this, Doing the pinch doesn't necessarily mean you change your grip before. I've never done that. Well, how can you start it with pinch if you don't start it like that? Like if you start it from home grip, you can't pinch it without re-gripping after the R. I do both push and pinch, which is better. I personally think push is better. I think pinch is more movement and more awkward and much less stable because the F prime has no support. Like if you do push you have this index finger on the top for the F prime, but if you do pinch you have your hand like this, and you can't put your index finger quickly enough on top of the U R edge to support it. So that's why I do it like this. So yeah. Let's move on to solve 2. Oops, that's not solve 2. This is solve 2. Let's just close that. Cool. Second solve. Okay. Cool. So what happened there? We had a white cross. Oops. Okay. So white cross was oh yikes. Okay. White cross, we had our orange piece in the place, already in, and the red piece in the place but flipped. That's a really ugly case. We've got this blue edge sitting on top, and this green edge sort of sitting adjacent to the blue center. So this is quite the interesting thing we have here. Let's see how he solved it. Oh, let's from this angle. Oops. Whoa, okay. Thank you for the follow, Mate Sok. Okay, so what could he have done? Whoa, yellow cross is bananas right now. I mean, it's not bananas, but there are literally 2 free pairs. Orange cross is what's bananas, but that's not relevant right now. What could you have done here? You had an 8 move cross. Oh man. This is tough. This is probably like a 7 move optimal cross or something. I think I found 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I found a 7 mover. So here's what you could have done. You could have held it with orange on front. Also, thank you for the follow, Ebod. So you could do a D2. And that puts this orange with the red, so that you can input this green in. R prime. And then from here you just basically, put these out of the way with an F prime. And from here you can pretty much guess what's going to happen. It's just D, R prime, F2, D. So once again, let me show that on the screen. What you could have done. Could have done. Yeah, the good thing about this cross is that it's 3-gen. It's only R, D, and F moves, and an RDF cross is a really good subset to have your cross with. Gianfranco, thank you for the follow. Was that Gianfranco Juan Key? Is that another Gianfranco? Either way, thank you for the follow. So this is what that would look like. You have this over here. You do the D2, and then R prime to put this edge in there, and then you move this out of the way and finish by taking care of those blue and red edges. That's how you would. That's a better cross. The problem with your cross is you started with it in front, and you didn't really have the most efficient solution. But it was 8 moves, so it wasn't the worst. But the worst part was you had a rotation in the middle of it. An X prime rotation in the middle of your cross is not what you want. Oh, come on, stop. Okay. So what did you go for? But honestly, this cross is pretty. This cross is pretty not good. I actually kind of want to see how many moves optimal. Nope, stop it. I'm just gonna quickly check. Input this. Yeah. Okay. So white cross is 7 moves optimal. So you were only 1 off. Yellow cross, however, is 6 move optimal. So, I mean, actually, nah, I'm not gonna explore that right now. We're gonna talk about your solve specifically. So you did interesting. So you did this green-orange pair first. I'm not sure why though. You if you don't have that pinch versus person, that makes pinch turns easier. Yeah, that's true, but that's still more movement for your fingers than having to do a pull or a push. Like this is, even if it's from here, this is more movement than this. So it's kind of, yeah. So you did a rotation, and then you did this green-orange pair by putting the corner to the right with U prime, R, U prime, R prime, that pairs it up, and then not rotating, you did not rotate. You just did F moves. Interesting. So, disregarding your pair choice, let's just talk about the fact that how you could have done that pair a little bit better. Personally, I would have actually rotated to insert the pair, because that way you're inserting it to the back left, and that gives you the best options for F2L. Like, it's the, you know, as I said before, one of the best ways to start out F2L and have a good transition into your next pairs and good momentum. So I definitely would have rotated to put in the back left. But if you know, if you weren't going to go for that pair, no, it's not what happened. Wait. Yeah, here's what we got. Yeah, so from here, this is when you had an F2L. Honestly, you could do one of two things. You could either solve, wait. Just put this here. So here, this is what you're looking at. You have essentially 3 pairs in your sights. You actually, honestly, if you essentially have every single F2L piece in your vision right now, which is insane. You have this green-orange pair, which is probably the most visible in relation to each other, but you also have this blue and orange, which is directly in front of you. You have it right here. You have these 2 blue and red, which are, you know, one's twisted in the slot and one's just in the top layer right in front of you. And you have this green-red edge right in front of you and the solved corner in the back, which isn't that hard to notice if you just, you know, are able to see that or are practice looking at that. So you really, honestly, you could go for any pair here. And that's great because you have a lot of options. So at first, when I first saw this scramble, or when I first saw this this start, my initial instinct was to go for this blue-red pair first, like this, with R prime, U prime, R, and then insert it with L prime, U, L. That would look like this. I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with this. R prime, U prime, R, move the edge over it, now you have a free pair, insert it. And from there, you have a pretty nice, yeah, you actually have a pretty nice continuation, because you can do this blue-red pair, even though you're doing your first 2 pairs in the front, which is usually a big no-no. Even though you're doing your first pairs in the front, first 2 pairs, if you're going to go for the blue-red pair like that, then what you can do is you have a pretty easy, like if you just rotate to the right, you have a pretty nice last two pairs. Like, it's not horrible. I wouldn't complain if I saw this, honestly. And we can talk about how you'd approach that hypothetically. But what I think is even better out of this start is to go not for the blue-orange pair, not for the green-orange pair, but for the blue-red pair. And you might be thinking, why would you do the front-right pair first? That's because watch what happens to this blue-orange pair when you do double sexy to this blue-red pair to solve it. It's now in a 3-move insert position. So here's what that would look like. So first pay attention to this blue-red solution, or you're probably already familiar with it, but if you don't look at this solution if you're already used to it, but look at this blue-orange pair instead while these moves happen, and watch how they get into the position. So the corner is hidden, comes back up, now it's a 3-move insert. So how could we be able to see that? So one thing that we know is that double sexy move is only RU moves. Also, we're not talking about the last move, so it's essentially double sexy minus the last U prime, because you shouldn't do it. You should not do a U prime after doing this F12 pair. That's just stupid. That's an unnecessary U move. Oh, I forgot to talk about unnecessary U moves in your first solve, but you definitely had some in all 5, or at least the next 4. So I'll get to that. Yeah, you could have seen that by knowing that this blue-orange edge is here, and it doesn't leave the top layer. It actually doesn't leave this position or that position. It just cycles between those two, because sexy move is just U prime, U prime. So all that's happening is U and then U prime, and that's all that's happening. Oh no, U prime, and then another U. So it's back here now. In this corner, it's inserted with RU R prime. The RU R prime solves it. I mean, not in the right slot, but it solves it such that it's white facing down, and then you're just doing a U prime and then another RU R prime. And you should know what RU R prime does to a solved corner. You should know that it puts it over here with white facing to the left. So that would have been really good knowledge. And probably one of the best things to do would be to do this entire cross a Y2 way and do this entire solution from the back. So you're just doing left D inverse sexy. Actually, it'll just look like this. So instead, you're just doing it from here. Ah, stop. You're doing it from the back, hypothetically, if you did the cross. And then now you have your blue-red pair, and honestly, you could cancel. This is a really cool case where you could cancel into both pairs. Wait, actually, no, I'm wrong. That's wrong. But that's whatever. That was just me talking about what you could have done for your first pair. Let's talk about your second pair. Let's see what you did. Okay, so then you did the blue-orange pair. Okay. Honestly, pretty good. And yeah, again, saying that, like, if you had inserted this green-orange pair, which, you did this way with F moves, but if you had rotated and inserted with back left, then you wouldn't have to rotate for the second pair. You would already have it in the correct position. So that would have been better. But otherwise, pretty good pair choice. You could have gone for the blue-red, but I think blue-orange is perfectly fine, because taking care of the left slots, having your last two pairs on right is the second best thing next to having your last two pairs on front. Actually, I think they're equally... They're both really good, but sometimes one is better than the other in different situations. It really depends on the solve, but those are the two best kinds of last two pairs you can have. You can have them both on your right or both in front of you. And you had both of them on your right, which is really good. So that's good. So then you went for... Oh, what did you do? Oh, that was bad. Okay, so that was not good. You really should have just gone for this blue-red pair, even though it's in your front. If you really wanted to, you could have rotated and gone for this green-red pair. But personally, the best thing to do would really just to be solve this here. Let me show you how you... I mean, same solution, it's double sexy, but let me show you how you might think, okay, that solution is great, but that makes my last pair bad. And to that I say, wait, I did something wrong. Oh, here's what I'm doing wrong. Is that right? Yeah, actually no, you don't have a bad solution. You have this, which is 2-gen. You can do U prime, R prime, U prime, R, and then it's a 3-move insert, and then U prime, R prime, U prime, R. Yeah. So yeah, doing these as your last two pairs, doing blue-red first would have been better, as it would have given you a rotationless and 2-gen last pair, even though it's in the back right. So even though you want to make your first two F2L pairs in the back, sometimes it's going to be better to do it in the front or in the left. And the way you make sure that the rest of it isn't bad is that you deal with the right pairs in the right way. So in this case, you pick, it was a matter of pair choice. You picked the wrong pair over the other pair. So picking the blue pair would have been better. And you might think, oh, how am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to tell? Which pair is going to be better to solve? And the answer is, you're not supposed to immediately know overnight in a solve. You're supposed to be able to practice that in your untimed solves, and then eventually carry on that skill into your time solves so you can do it quickly enough. If that makes sense. If you solve red-blue, then it pairs up orange-blue. This is true. Yes. I did good. Yeah. That's what I went over to. Okay. And then your last pair was very straightforward. Yeah, the problem with your third pair, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 moves. But let's say this was the best pair to go for. Let's say blue red wasn't where it is and green red is like just not optimally, objectively the best pair to go for. What I would do is I would probably rotate to the right and do U, like from here I would do U, L prime, U prime, L, and that would make a free pair here. And that's 4 moves to free pair, and then 3 moves to insert it, so that's 7 moves. That's 4 moves better than your solution, even though it has a rotation and it's RUL instead of your RU solution. But yeah, your solution was inefficient. So, excuse me. Here's where stuff happens. So, because you're at the speed where you're getting sub-10s or trying to get sub-10s, you really should have understood that here, or honestly like here you should have known how many edges would have been oriented on your OLL. And you might ask, how am I supposed to tell that? How in the world am I supposed to know that? You know that because RU solutions, if you scramble your cube RU, it's impossible to flip an edge. You cannot flip an edge with RU. You can only once you introduce another axis that's not parallel to either one of those can you start flipping an edge. And the reason why that's important information is because your solution was RU completely. And if you look at the position of the edges, only 2 are facing up, and the other 2 are. This one is very, very clearly flipped, very clearly not facing up, and this one is not that clear that it's not facing up. But if you do an R, then in the last layer it would be treated as not flipped. So we have only 2 edges flipped, and if we're doing an RU solution, that means it's going to stay like that. So you can instantly from your last pair know that your OLL is going to be either a line OLL or a L OLL. So yeah, that you should have definitely taken note of that, and that would have definitely decreased the probability of you doing this U2 and then U prime. So this is very bad because doing a U2 and a U prime is not something you should be doing. And honestly, I'll be completely honest, this is one of the OLLs that I also have this habit for. This is one of the very few OLLs that I still for some reason do unnecessary U moves for. And honestly, I think it's just because it's not that it's hard to recognize, but it's easy to misrecognize, if that makes sense. I always think of it as the other, like the mirror. But it's a very easy alg, and you shouldn't waste time trying to figure out what it is if you already have enough information to not pause. Or just here's what you should be doing. You should not be doing any U moves after you finish your last pair. You should just look at the cube. If it takes you 2 seconds, if you're doing a 2-second pause, then that's fine. But just look at the cube, pause, and don't start your first turn, even if it's a U move, until you've recognized the OLL completely. And that way you're going to slowly, eliminate the bad habit of doing unnecessary U moves when you don't recognize stuff, and replace it with just pausing and recognizing it full on, which is a much better thing to do, even if it takes slower at first. Then you just did this A perm. Actually, I want to see how you executed your OLL. Okay, so you did the left index push. This is good. See, this is why pinch would be bad for this out. But yeah, then sledge. Get a little trouble with that. Yeah, see how see how you tried to do the F prime here? Or actually, no, I don't think you tried to. I think you were just setting up your hand. But yeah, but see how you had to put your right index finger on top of the U layer to do the F prime? That's essentially the key part of the algorithm. That's what makes the F prime fast. So maybe practice drilling that algorithm and focusing on doing the F prime as smoothly as possible. Maybe like starting with slower turning. Cool. Also nice Ben and Charles. Good job on both of your results. Okay, so this A perm. Okay. So you did a pretty good job recognizing it. Okay. Wait, so are you double flicking this? Oh, it really doesn't look like it. It looks like a fast double flick, or not a fast double flick, a fast single flick, where you're doing like DD with one finger. But here's what's happening. You're not double flicking for your D2s, and you want to either yeah, what's up, Andreas? You want to either do ring middle, which is what I do, which looks like this, or you can do pinky ring, which is something I tried doing once, but I can't. I think Patrick does this. Or you can do ring pinky, which I seriously don't understand how anyone does comfortably, but, so if it's fast for you, then it's fast for you. But definitely figure out which one is the absolute fastest for you. Don't do what's the most comfortable, do what's the fastest. Thank you for the follow, VDINHLFC. Cool. So yeah, the way I do it is I do ring middle. And notice how when you're doing your A perm, yeah, so here you can tell that the way you're holding the A perm, even though it's the last move, it's the way you held the A perm for the entire algorithm. You're holding it with your left hand. Your left hand is holding the cube because your right hand is doing all the moves. So your left hand is essentially the left hand has to hold it. It can't really do many moves. So what you're doing is you're holding it with your left thumb on front and your middle finger in the back. The reason why that's tricky is because now you only have, if you're using ring middle, you don't really have any opportunity to do a D2 in a smooth way if you're not doing ring pinky or pinky ring. So that's why what I do is I hold it with index in back and thumb on front so that I can do my ring middle without having to worry about losing grip of the cube. Then the question is, how do I do this move, the U prime? Because my index finger is here, I can't move it over. That'll really ruin the stability of the grip. So what I do instead is I overflick like that. And the reason why it works is because I actually prepare the overflick very early. I go here, and then I get ready for it. So it's already, excuse me, it's already ready to do it. And the key thing is make sure that when you're preparing, if you want to do this finger trick, that when you're doing the overflick, that you prepare it before the D2, and that you don't move your right thumb. Make sure your right thumb is still in contact with the bottom edge that it's touching. Because what people do is they do that, and their thumb and their index finger floats, and that's just bad for stability. You want to make sure your thumb is still, it's like a crossover, some sort of like piano thing. I don't know. I guess I got that from piano, I'm not sure. But yeah, that was the second solve. Pretty much everything I wanted to say there. Alright, let's see. Can I do the next 3 solves in 46% on my computer? Let's find out. Ring middle used to be my most comfortable, but then switched to pinky ring and now much faster with it. Yeah, it's different for everyone. I switched for a month from ring middle to like ring pinky or pinky ring. Just because Patrick told me to and I trusted him. And it didn't, I tried it for a month. It didn't work. It was not my jam. So if you're going, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. It doesn't for me. This is okay. Alright, so let's see the third solve. Okay, that's a good cross. Okay. So, first of all, I really liked the flow you had in the first half of the solve. You had a really good flow for like the first 4 or 5 seconds of your solve. Honestly, it was a pretty smooth solve, like, you know, in its entirety. Actually, the last layer had unnecessary U moves, so that kind of ruined it. But yeah. So let's see. What did you do? You did white cross. Your cross pieces were here, here, here flipped, and where's the orange one? Oh, it's back here. Okay, so you've got 3 on 1 phase like this, and they're all oriented in the good way, so you can just insert them with R moves, which is fantastic. The only problem is this flipped edge. That kind of makes it a little ugly. Your cross was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves. Okay. So although your cross was 8 moves, you did execute it very smoothly, and you went into your first pair pretty, like, there was not that much pause in your first pair. Pretty good. Like, yeah, you had first 2 pairs done by 3.5, which is really nice. So let's talk about that. So you did U, R, I see, okay, so you did the U to put this green on top of the blue so that you can do the orange and the green a D2 away. Like that, so RF2. Oh, and then he does the D2, and then essentially just does the remaining 2 pieces with R prime, U prime, R prime, F. Okay, so I think both parts of that cross were fine on their own. Like, if you had those cases for cross, like for different solves, both of those solutions for both those halves of cross, if that makes sense, could have been in. No, we're fine. But the fact that those were, you know, the fact that those were combined and made an 8 move cross, kind of ruined it. Not ruined it, but maybe it could have been better. I'm looking at yellow cross. What is yellow? What do I think? Oh, here's what you could have done. So you could have done. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you could have done a 6 move cross. This is nice. This is a much nicer cross. So what you could have done is okay. So this is a much better cross, and the reason why is because, first of all, just looking at it, it's only RDF moves. In fact, there's only one F move, so it's almost entirely RD, which is one of the best It's one of the best like solutions for cross. If your cross is mostly RD, it's probably a good cross. So what's happening here is stop it. Stop. Cooperate. So what's happening here is, instead of moving this green edge over here and taking care of this orange and green as a relative to each other, you first insert this orange edge with an R, like so. And then from here, if you do a D move, you can insert this green edge over here and move this blue edge out of the way into the blue center like this perfectly. So I might have over-explained that, but that would look like this. D, R. So that's amazing, because now you're a really easy 3 moves away from the cross. And that turned a really bad case like this into a really good case. So yeah, that would have been better. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of stuff you can do here. Whoa! That's weird. Alright, whatever. Okay. So, your first pair, what did you do? Oh, you did the green pair first. Very interesting. So, you looked at this green corner, and you saw that you could free move it to a free pair that's like sort of flipped. So like that. I find that very interesting because you picked this pair instead of this right in front of you blue-red pair. Probably because you wanted to put, you know, your first pair in the back, which makes sense. But honestly, it might be better to either do your cross from a Y2 so that you can do this pair like this, or just do the pair, you know, just do the pair front right, and then go from there, because it's actually a pretty good continuation. But you know, you did this pair, which is definitely not the worst thing. Definitely not the best thing, but absolutely not the worst thing you could have done. So that's good. Okay. And then here, what did you do? Ah, yeah, you went for this blue-red pair. Yeah, so it's clear that you definitely saw the way that your solution influenced this pair. You could definitely see that this corner was going here, and you're like, oh, all right, time to do this. But that U prime definitely indicates that you weren't fully aware that it was going to end up like that. So you definitely want to practice doing like double pair blindfold practice in order to get a better idea of how to track pairs in real time. So you did that, and then you inserted it like that, no problem. What if you inserted with a sledge? That would have actually made EO. If you inserted with a sledge, you would have made EO. But I don't think that's that important. Because you can always make EO sometime else. I don't know. But I don't know if this would have been the best pair to go for. Honestly, if we're talking about, you know, ergonomics and best pair choice, I think this green-orange pair would have been better. What you could have done is... And it also would have been 2-gen, but LU. You might think that's worse, but doing an RU solution for your second pair and a bad continuation is not as good as doing an LU solution for your second pair with a good continuation. Or actually, not even. Like, the fact this is because this pair goes into the right, and doing your first two pairs on the right is not the best, unless you're lefty and you're used to that. But whatever. Let's see. Yeah, so here's what you could have done. You could have taken note of this green-orange corner and this green-orange edge and paired it up like so. L prime U L. That puts this corner up here and this edge like this. So once again, U2, L prime U L, and now just a 3-move insert, put it in the back. And the reason why that's better, I mean, one reason is because you have your first two pairs in the back, which is much better than first two pairs on the right. And you can just solve this pair with 6 moves, with U prime R, U, R2, U prime R, and then take care of the last pair 2-gen. So if you rotate, you can do your last two pairs 2-gen, which is a really good continuation. So you did this blue-red pair instead. How did you approach your third pair, I'm wondering? Your rotation. Ah, okay, so you did a blue. Okay. Okay, so here's what you should have done. So this is a little advanced. Wait. No, actually, never mind. You shouldn't have done that. So yeah, this is really tough because this is just a bad case. It's a bad place to be in for last two pairs, but if you really wanted to, you could do a U2 and then a lefty sledge. Or you could just do this green-orange pair the same way that I did it last time, like that. That gives a kind of okay last pair. But what if I did a sledge and then that? That gives a slightly better pair. But it's fine. You went for this pair. And the key thing about this pair is that you should have seen that this edge was going here, and this corner was here. And you should have known that your last pair was going to be this combo. Which is a really nice last pair. You can just, very quickly go into it. So you definitely should have kind of done it as one pair, like one algorithm. And if you weren't able to recognize that, then definitely practice doing, F2L blindfolded practice. Then had this OL, which you did unnecessary U moves for. Oh, wait. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that execution. Oh. Okay. So you had just finished inserting... Oh. Okay. Here's what you did wrong. So when you rotated to do your third pair, to finish your third pair, that is, when you were here, and you go bam, 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 here, you positioned your... Here, let me... how do I get it back? Yeah, so here... Alright, this might not be the same exact last layer case, but the F12 pair is what matters. So here, when you rotated, you re-gripped your right hand to be like this, which is, you know, I guess okay, if you're thinking of it, you know, just individually. But you got to think about, you know, your last two pairs as a whole. How can you, like, is this really the best way of executing your third pair, and does it lead well into your fourth pair? The answer is no, because starting this pair from this grip is very awkward, and you have to regrip. So what you should have done instead is when you regripped, you should have just regripped into home grip and then done R prime U with the left index push like that. That way, you could have gone straight into this pair because you're back into home grip. And you can very easily cancel into it. Like from here. Oh, whoops. Whatever, it's fine. Point is, don't regrip. But for the solution itself, yeah, then you regripped back to home grip, so that's bad. Oh, and then here, you regrip for the R prime again. Okay, that is bad. So, look what that does. So, instead of being able to do the R at like 5.6 or 5.7, or you do the U around here, and instead of going straight into the R, like at 5.6, you regrip, waste around 0.1 of a second, which, you know, might sound like nothing, but it adds up. And you regrip for the last three moves of a 2-gen solution, which is no. Big no. What you want to do is practice your F12 pair solution so that you can start and finish them regripless. Like that. You know, something like this. You want to be able to do it from home grip, like, rather than doing, because that's a regrip. So yeah, definitely practice those and work and seek out which of your F12 solutions you're unknowingly regripping for. Cool. All right, just checking in. Are you guys enjoying the stream? Let me know. Did you guys learn anything new yet? All right, so this OLL is just wide double soon. I don't know how much CLL or corner permutation knowledge you have, but here you can tell that you're going to get a diag PLL. So, you know, it's obviously not, it's obviously not obvious. It's not obvious that you're going to get a diag PLL, but if you know COLL or CLL, like, if I were to do F triple sexy F prime to a 2x2, you would get this exact corner case. And if I try to solve it with double soon, which is essentially your algorithm, then I get a diag PLL. So you can use that knowledge to predict that you're going to get a diag PLL, and you did. You got a Y prime. So again, the unnecessary U moves, just don't do that. Make sure you fix that by practicing just pausing, pausing for your OLL instead of doing U moves. Yeah, you regripped. Okay, so you regripped for that OLL. The rest of the after you regrip, the execution was pretty good, but I really recommend that you start it from home grip. I start it from home grip like this, where I do wide R, U push with my left index, and then the rest is pretty straightforward. Just recommend that, so because it's a lot faster to do this than this, you know. So yeah, what do I look at during PLL execution? You should know your AUF before you start your PLL. You should practice AUF recognition. Okay. And your PLL, your Y perm? Okay, so it was pretty good. What was your actual execution time? Okay, so from the moment that you had... Okay, so the good thing that you did was, even though you regripped for your Y perm, which I don't recommend, you at least hit it. You at least hid your regrip, which means that you did a U prime as you were regripping. Obviously, it's not very hidden, but we call it a hidden... Like, it's called a hidden regrip when you essentially mask your regrip by doing a move while regripping, which is what you want to do. So good job on that. That's a good habit that you should keep trying to do. Thank you, Chris Cuber, for the follow. So pretty straightforward. Yeah, here, this is where it gets awkward. So here you have Sexy Sledge. You literally have this last layer case. All you have to do is a sexy move and a sledgehammer. The only problem is your hands are like this. And that might not seem very, menacing. Thank you, Sukant, for the follow. If I didn't do a sledge, then my Olo case would skip you. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, so the reason why, you might think that doing Sexy Sledge is easy from this grip, but the sexy move is, but then the sledgehammer isn't. You have to do an R prime like that, and then, what? It's bad. So the way you fix that is by starting Sexy Sledge from here, so that you can do it regripless from home grip. So R, left index, U, R prime, U prime, and then I do R prime F, and then R, and then I put my index finger on top like this so that I can do the F prime very comfortably. The thing about sledgehammers is the best way of executing them, in my opinion, is doing it R prime, right index for F, R, and then right thumb for F prime. And the trick to that is making sure that right as you're doing the R, you're sort of hiding a very small regrip by making sure this right index finger is very comfortably, but quickly going to this U, R edge. So I sort of get it there before it's there, like that. So yeah. The way I would execute this Y perm is I do it with a thumb F. So I start from home grip and I essentially just do this. And then from here, I'm not really in home grip per se, but I'm in a very good place to start my algorithm. Because I can just do that and then that. And it's very close to a home grip. What's up, Andrew? Thank you, RoboStomp, for the follow. Cool. So yeah, I would have executed with thumb, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, and then left index pull for the U, R prime, F prime with the thumb, and then Sexy Sledge. Yeah. A little faster. Oops. Ah. Wow. I can't turn. I also corner twist. Ah. But yeah, you get the point. Fourth. Right, we're running out of time a little bit, so I gotta speed this up a tiny bit. That's okay. Okay, fourth solve. Ah, that is not what I want. Okay, yellow cross. Alright. Yeah, this is a PL. That was good. That was funny. Yo, Owen! What's up? Thanks for the follow. How do you get good at lefty algs? You drill them a lot. And you make sure that your finger tricks are the exact same as your righty finger tricks. So you gotta mirror them entirely. Otherwise, it's gonna be inconsistent. So you had a 5-move cross on this one. Very interesting. Yeah, it was quite good. So you have this yellow cross. You had your yellow cross pieces here. You had a completely solved one, orange. You had one move away from being solved, green. And then you have these two flipped edges, blue and red, which, although by themselves are pretty bad, with these two other edges being in very good positions, it makes it a very easy cross. You could have done U before the L and then made it like an M prime. That might have made it more awkward. So probably the way you executed it was pretty good. But what's your pair? What's your? Okay, so you got a weird F2L start. So from here, your cross was fine. I don't really see that many problems with it. Or you might have done. It might have been better to do F R prime F instead of R prime F R prime. But other than that, that's my only complaint. Thank you, OP Lennis, for the follow. What's the thing on the right? This is alg.cubing.net. It's oops. You can see the URL right here, and if you type that in into your website URL, you'll get this website. And you get to play around with, solving cubes. Cool. Anyway, back to F2L. So what did you do out of the gate? You did your blue-orange pair first. Interesting. So I think what you should have done is, instead of solving it 2-gen, which was a pretty good solution, that's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 moves. And we could do one move shorter if we keyhole it. So we could do D prime U, insert the corner in there, and then do a D to bring it back, and now you have a pair in the back. So that's one move fewer. Or if you want to do 2 moves fewer, what you could do is, instead of doing a D prime and then inserting this corner from the front like this, you could do a D and insert it from the back, like so. A D move, insert in the back with LU to L prime, and then when you bring it back with the D prime, you'll have this solved pair. Oops. No, stop it. Stop. But yeah, just a thought. Okay. But still, this pair solution was pretty good. I wouldn't complain too much about it. Okay, so here you should have seen. Let's see how you recognize that. Oh, it's the 5th solve. Oh, you did not go for this pair afterwards. Interesting. You really should have seen this red-green pair when you had this 3-move insert, because it doesn't affect the 3-move pair at all, or the 3-move pair solution doesn't affect this red-green pair at all. So you really should have gone for it and gone straight into it with R, U prime, R prime, U prime, L prime, U prime, L. That would have been good, but you did not see that. You did something else. Oh, yikes. What was that? Oh, yikes. No. Big no-no. Okay, here's what you should have done. Big no-no. Do not solve this pair like this. I see so many people solving this kind of pair in a bad way. This pair can be solved extremely easily. You just don't realize it. So what I see people do is they take the pair out and then they inserted it like a checkered pair, or they do double sexy or double inverse sexy and insert it. Those are both very bad ways of solving this pair. Do not use those. What you want to do instead is you want to do a Y, or Y prime, and from here, watch what happens when you do a sledge. So this corner goes over here, this edge comes up here, and now you have a 3-move insert in the back. So that's literally perfect. It's a 7-move solution for this pair. Like that. And it's very simple. And that leaves you with your last 2 pairs being in the front, which is really good. So you should have done that. Generally for checkered pairs that are flipped upwards and in the wrong slot, if you move the corner to the left or right and do a sledge or a lefty sledge, you will be left with a 3-move insert, and that's a really good way of solving that pair. Also, hello Steve. Yeah, that is a good trick. All of you should know how to solve that pair like that now. If you don't solve that pair like that, the way I just showed you with the sledge, then that is not good. Okay. So second pair, and then for your third pair, also hello Steve. You did this red-green pair. So you did this red-green pair, pretty straightforward. You just did in the back. No problems there. What you should have done is you also should have been very sure of where your corner is going to end up, because you don't have to track this edge. This edge will stay here. So you really only had to track one corner. And did you track it? Could you tell where it's going to go? No. You weren't very sure. You did the U prime and then you paused for a while, meaning that you weren't confident in what was going to happen. So the way you fix that is by, practicing, like looking at the corner, closing your eyes and being like, where's it going to be? It's going to be over here. Yes, I was right. So, and like, if you got it wrong and you're like, oh, I wasn't right. Why wasn't I right? And then you do the moves, looking at it and you figure out why you were wrong. So definitely you should have tracked this corner, and you did it in a pretty good way. In fact, you did it in such a good way. Would that have gone you something better? No, it wouldn't. But yeah, this is probably the best way to solve this pair. You could have solved it maybe in one move fewer if you didn't do the U prime at first, but that doesn't matter because you literally got like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You got a 10 move last layer. Apart from the U prime U2. Yeah, so just make sure you good OLL alg. This is the alg I use as well. I learned it from Timon. So this is good. Which is like it's the first 4 moves of JB perm, and then U prime F, and then you insert the pair RE2 R prime. But yeah. Honestly, your last layer was very lucky, so there's nothing really for me to say there. But your alg was good. Your recognition was a little bad, but I don't know, still good. The main problem was not really your last layer, but more your F2R. Yeah, great. That was solve 4. Let's get to solve 5. I'm almost sub 15. I don't learn full OLL. Learn full OLL. You'll be a lot faster. You don't even know full PLL, and I'm all sub 20. Yeah, you're kind of sabotaging yourself. You're only gonna get faster at a much slower rate than if you just knew full PLL. So help yourself out and just learn the rest of the set. It's only like, dude, PLL and OLL are both very small subsets. They're both less than 50 algs. Or less than 60 algs. It's insane. They're both tiny. And they're both very simple. Like, most of their algorithms are very easy to memorize. Yeah, you can average sub 20 without full PL or OLL, but that's bad. That's sabotaging your own solving style. Okay. So you had a 7 move cross. You did like this. Wait, let's look at your cross pieces first of all. So you had this green over here, this red in the top also, this blue like this, and the orange in the bottom of it. Okay, this is quite interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you could do a 6 move cross with this. So what I would do instead, or actually, let's see how you solved it. So you did, oh whoops, it's from this angle. You did the F2 to solve, why are you doing that? You solve the green, and you move it over, so that you have this sort of situation going on. And then, oh, and then you do L, yeah, you solve these two in these two centers, so it's like a D2 away. L, F prime, L2, and then D2, F to finish it off. So, yeah, not the best cross. If your cross is LDF, it's okay, but you had an F2, an L2, and a D2 in your solution, so not amazing. So here's what you could have done. You could have do a Y prime. If you did that, what you could have done is you could have done so watch how this solves across. So instead of moving this orange over here and dealing with blue and red as opposites, you execute it from a Y2 with red front. You do the D prime to put the orange a D2 away in the red center. That way you can put this blue edge over here with 1 move. That's 2 moves. And then basically you're just solving the rest of the cross pretty straightforward. You're doing a D2, or a U and a D2. But those can be done interchangeably. And then from here it's just 2 moves, so it's FR2. So the reason why that's really good is because if you start from home grip and you do this algorithm, and you do the U move with like that, and then quickly regrip back to here, which isn't that hard of a regrip, it's just like from here to here. I don't know. And then do FR2, it's a really fast cross. And it's 6 moves. So, cool. End perms? No, they're not too long. I mean, the ones I use are both either... Well, the good one I use the J perm one, which is 21, but the lefty end perm I use the 16 move out, which is not that many moves. Okay. Oh wait, no, this is a different start. This is my cross. Wow. Wait. Okay. So here, yeah, you did this. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what you should have done? You know what you should have done? So you rotated, and you're in this position. Green front, this is your F2L start. You rotate, and you're about to do this blue-orange pair. Pretty straightforward, makes sense. R prime, U R, U prime, insert free pair. Very straightforward solution, very easy to execute. However, you have this orange-green corner and this orange-green edge here. And what you can do here is you can actually sledge. And you have a free pair right in front of you. And you might think, oh, well, that probably ruins the pair I was going to go for. But no, it doesn't, actually. The corner stays here. And when you insert the pair, you're just a U move away from doing that exact same first pair you're going to do. So instead of going for the first pair in the back, you can go for both right pairs and make them both really, really seamless. You can do like, and that's 2 pairs. A little slower though, look like this. So sledge. Oh wait, no, yeah, sledge. Oh wait, I messed up. Sorry. From here, yeah, this is the right one. So you do sledge, insert the pair, U, do the solution like that. So yeah, that would have been the better thing to go for, but your solution, I mean, going for this pair was still a good call, because it's in the back and it's a very easy solution, so very nice. What did you go for after that? Okay, green-orange. And then you rotated, put it in the back, and you got a free pair. Perfect. So, honestly, not really much to complain about, because that's like, when you get this fast, sometimes doing a slightly less efficient solution is more worth it because it leads into, a free pair or a 3-move pair or something better, Sometimes just doing something a little worse in the beginning in order to influence something better in the end is better. But, wait, what did you do? Yeah. Yeah, I really don't have any issues with this pair. Unless you executed it in a bad way. That might have happened. Oops, stop doing this. Stop it. Oh, big pause. Okay, you do not. Okay. Okay. So big pause happened between cross and first pair. Probably because your first pair had the corner in the bottom and the edge at the top, which isn't the nicest in terms of recognition. It's a good case, but it's a little tricky to recognize if you're not prepared for it. Wait, I forgot to pay attention to how you executed it. Yeah, you regrip. Okay, don't do that. Don't regrip for a sexy move. Just do this. From home grip. Rotate, home grip. Or not even, yeah, you can do home grip. Or I would actually do, I might do it from this, because then I could regrip as I do the U prime and do F prime U F. or fu prime f prime. But whatever. The way you executed this pair was great. It was fine. You rotated at the right time. You got your last two pairs in the front. You got a free pair. Looking good. So no problems there. Next pair, very good that you didn't rotate. You did F moves to insert it. Very nice. You didn't waste any time with rotating. Then you inserted this pair like that in a very straightforward way. And you also didn't rotate. So that's very good. Very nice. Is there something you could have done that might have been better? Probably not. Honestly, the way you executed these the way you solved these last two pairs is very good. Because you got a free pair and just a pretty straightforward last pair. And I'm very happy to see that you didn't rotate for either of them, so that's good. I'd honestly say that your last two pairs was probably the strongest part of your solve on this specific solve. It was probably the smoothest combination of steps in your solve. In this solve. And then you did the normal OLL, which you again did unnecessary U moves for. You did U prime U. Then you did the lefty version of the righty alg, which makes sense. But let me recommend you a cool alg. I'm not going to show it on screen, I'm just going to do it. So, from the same angle, actually Blake taught me this alg. Who solves this? This is Dylan, Dylan Pollard. Yeah. So, what you can do is you can do the first 4 moves of J-perm, or good J-perm at least. So RU, R prime, F prime, and then you do sexy move, and then R prime, F, R, because you're essentially like taking this cross and fixing it with R prime, F, R. And now you just have a free pair, which you can move over with a U prime and do a sledgehammer. No, it's not J-perm. J-perm's last name is not... Okay. I'm not critiquing J-perm, guys. Does this look like his setup? Anyway. Yeah, so... Wait, can I even undo that? No, I can't. So... Yeah, once again, first 4 moves of J-perm. Oops, wow, I need to charge my laptop. He is about to die. Okay. Sexy move, R prime, F, R, U prime, sledgehammer. That's the out. And then your PLL, you just did again, unnecessary U moves, G perm, good alg, makes sense. Let's see how you executed it. Okay, you regripped. And you regripped again. Okay, so what you want to do instead is you want to do the G-perm. Also, the frame rate's kind of getting bad. That's okay. You want to start with in home grip, do R, left index pull, R prime, and then, you know, the rest of the alg. And then here, you want to execute the R2 so that you start with your left thumb on the FR edge with your thumb on the F side. And your index, your right index, on the UFB, sorry, the URB, or the UBR edge, however you order it, on not edge, this corner, this UBR corner, and it's positioned on the U side. And you do the R2 as essentially 2 R's, but that are finger tricked differently. So you do the first R, you know, just as like a normal wrist turn, and then you let go with your hand, except your index finger that's now in the back like this. So after the first R, you let go and you do the second R with your index finger only as like a push, like a pointer push, like that. And then as you're doing the U prime D, you get your right hand back to be in the position that it should be. Oh wait, no, not here, but here. You get your right hand back to here, so that you can do the rest of the out. For some reason I can't do the rest of the out. This is okay. Okay, I did something wrong. But this is okay. Yeah, basically just, you want to make it look something like this. I think, yeah. Yeah, and then I would regrip here. Do something like that, so. Yeah. Okay, so that's those 5 solves. I pretty much timed it perfectly because now my computer's about to die, but I have it plugged in. The frame rate's a little worse, but that's totally fine. Point is, let's talk about big things for you to work on. So, what I noticed in your solves was a lot of... Okay, so the biggest weakness, first of all, is the pauses you have in between F2L pairs and in between cross and F2L. This is definitely no surprise, because this is like almost every single person has this problem when they're struggling to get sub 10 or sub 15. They just pause a lot in between pairs, and there's really no sense of flow in the solve. And the problem with that is you're wasting a lot of time just looking at the cube and not knowing what's happening, and not knowing where your next pair is going to be. So what you want to do to fix that, to fix your pauses, is like the problem that's happening is you don't have enough look ahead. And the way you develop look ahead is you do lots of untimed practice where you try to do F2L blindfolded, essentially. Not in one look, but you try to do it in 4 looks. So you try to do one pair at a time. You look at the pair, try to do it blindfolded, then look again, try to do the second pair blindfolded, so and so. And that's where you want to start. You want to start by doing blind F2L pair solves where you just do one at a time. And once you do enough of those, you're going to start to realize that you're going to have a lot more like comfort doing certain F2L pairs and not paying attention to them once you start executing them, because instead of thinking of them while you're solving them, your brain just turns off after you. Not that it turns off, but it starts looking for something else when you start your execution. Sterling, thank you for the follow. So the idea you want to have is you want to have like this sense of as I start executing my first pair, I should already know what my second pair option is going to be. And the way you do that is you practice doing 2 pairs at a time blindfolded, which is a lot harder than doing 1 pair at a time blindfolded, but you need to get there if you want to get sub 10. And the way you do that is just by working your way up to 2. Just start doing a lot of blind F2L practice with just 1 pair at a time, and then, yeah. So, let's see. Cross. Let's talk about cross. So your cross, on average, was around 7 to 8, or like 6 to 8 moves. More on the higher side. Actually, on average, it was probably like 6 to 7 because you had 2 really easy. You had a 4-move cross on one solve and a 5-move cross on the other. But I'm pretty sure that that's few and far between. And I feel like on average, I'm guessing like you have 7 to 8 move crosses. And you want to really make that 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 because you're dual neutral. And yeah, Sterling Pruffle. I will get to how to track first pair right after this. I was about to go into that. But yeah, so what you want to do in order to practice like cross efficiency specifically is start by doing untimed solves where you just take a scramble and you try to solve it in like the fewest moves possible. You try to find the shortest cross, whether it's on white or yellow, or if you really want, you can do it color neutral just as an exercise. But since you're only white-yellow, it's probably wise to just practice on white-yellow for now. Yeah, so you want to aim for having a 6-move cross. You want to try to find a 6-move cross no matter what. It's not going to always be possible. Sometimes yellow and white are going to both be 7 moves optimal. But that's very rare, and you want to really try to find a 6-move cross no matter what. And the way you check is you after you're done trying all that you've tried on the scramble. Say you've tried the scramble 7 times, and you're like, oh, all 7 crosses that I've tried are different, and they're all 7 to 8 moves. I can't find a 6-move cross. Then you go to CS Timer, and I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can see it. Yeah. So here on CS Timer, if you click Tools, usually you'll have Draw Scramble pop up like this. But if you go to Draw Scramble, I know it's a little cut off, but you can still kind of see it. If you go to Draw Scramble, you go to the drop-down menu, and right under it says Solvers. It'll default to Cross Solver, and that way it shows you optimal solutions for every cross, all 6 crosses. And yeah, that's what you want. You want to basically try out as many crosses as you can on a scramble. And only when you really are struggling to find a 6-move cross, only when you can't find anything else, do you consult this optimal solution finder. Don't look at the optimal solutions before you've tried everything that you can think of, because that way if you only look at the optimal solutions first, then you'll just be cheating essentially, and you're not going to be learning anything. Because it's a lot easier to learn something once you've tried it and understood how hard it is to find the cross, and then once you see the optimal cross solution, you appreciate how efficient it is, and you understand why it's efficient, rather than just blindly doing it. Because you're not going to remember it if you don't try out everything you can before. And that goes into cross plus one, which I was about to mention. So cross, move count is great, but move count doesn't really mean anything if you can't execute it properly. And I think you actually had a pretty good cross. Well, you had a good cross execution accuracy. Like all 5 of your crosses you pretty much did without messing up. But you did have a lot of trouble finger tricking them. It didn't look like you had trouble, but you could have done a lot more ergonomic finger tricks for certain crosses, like maybe doing it from a Y or a Y prime, and then just doing it by converting the moves a Y or Y prime away, and maybe that'll be easier. That was the case for one of your scrambles, or for one of your crosses. I think it was the third solve. And the way you really improve your cross execution specifically is by doing cross blindfolded, and trying to do it with muscle memory, and then look and see if you got it right. Because memorizing 6 moves is something any cuber that is trying to go for sub 20 can do. Any well-seasoned cuber can memorize 6 or 7 moves if they practice that skill. So that goes into cross plus one. How can we predict cross plus one? How can we predict first pair? You had a lot of trouble predicting your first pair in most of your solves. You had a big pause. So the way you fix that is essentially by just doing the same exercise that I just said with cross, but with cross plus one. So you just take a scramble and you try to find the best cross. You try to find a 6 mover, or anything below that. And after you find your 6 mover, you don't do your 6 mover. What you do is you try to then find a pair within the scramble that looks like it would be good to track through the cross. So let me give an example. Let's say I'll just randomly hand scramble. Let's say I'm just going to make my cross pretty easy. Yes, I'm making a 1 move cross just to make a point. But let's say you have a 1 move cross and you're like, oh wow, I can really look ahead into my first pair. What you want to do is you want to track. Actually, no, that's bad. Let's do something let's do a 4 move cross. You want to be able to track each move, go through each move in your head, and pick a pair that you want to track for each move. So in this case, the cross. Oh, whoops, it's a little off. In this case, the yellow cross is 4 moves: R prime F, R prime L. Pretty straightforward. So let's pick a pair that would be easy to track. So just for proving a point, let's pick this checker blue-red pair. And the way you would practice doing cross plus one, or being able to do it more reliably, is you would go through each of the moves of the cross in your head and look at what happens to the corner, and then look at what happens to the edge. So with R prime F, this corner moves from here to here with the yellow facing to the right. And then with R prime L, all that does is that brings this corner down here. So now I know that this blue-red corner is going to be down here with yellow facing to the right. And then now let's track the edge. So R prime F would move this edge over here, so we have blue facing us and red on top. And then R prime L does not do anything to an edge that's in the M layer, so that doesn't do anything to the edge. So now we know that this corner is down here with yellow facing to the right, and this edge is up here with red facing up. So now we can, and now once you've planned that out, you want to close your eyes and try to do cross, and then try to solve the F2L pair with your eyes still closed. And if you're right, then you've improved. Then that's a sign of improvement. But if you haven't, then that's a sign that you need to do a lot of practice with it. So yeah, that's how you would really rigorously practice cross plus one, is just do a lot of untimed solves where you focus specifically on trying to plan it, then know the moves, and hold on, wait, do I know this? I do know this. No. Crap. Wait. Yay, I do know. Whoa. Back surgery, that's crazy. Alright. But yeah, I gotta wrap it up. let me talk about the last few things to work on. So I basically covered cross plus one and F2L. You basically want to practice efficient crosses, practice executing those efficient crosses, and then move on to practicing efficient cross plus ones, and then practicing executing those cross plus ones, and practice executing F2L pairs without looking at them, and practice predicting where the next F2L pair is going to be. Yo, SpongeBob, thank you for the bits. Good job, Chirpy, thank you. And moving on to stuff like last layer, your algorithms seem pretty fine. The problem really lies in the way you're executing them, so the finger tricks. And I can't really go through every single one of your alg and tell you how to do it perfectly, because you would have to pay me a lot of money to do that. But you can just do it yourself. You can go through each one of your OLL algorithms and look at the algorithm and do the algorithm slowly while looking at how your hands execute it. Look at the way you're finger tricking it and be like, is this the best way for me to execute it? And the way you figure that out is, one, by timing it, and two, seeing how much movement your fingers are actually doing. Like, if we talk about a G perm, no, sorry, let's say a T perm versus a V perm. A T perm this is just factually has less finger movement with the standard algorithm executed correctly, or with home grip. So this is way less finger movement and way easier on the hands than this, because there's a lot of R2s and it's just, you know. But what you can do is you can go through each and every one and find the best way to finger trick every single algorithm. And you can really only do that by just, you know, going through all your OLLs, timing them, going through all your PLLs, timing them, going through, you know, various algorithms, going to AlgDB, going to JPerm's website, going to Cube Skills. Those all have great resources for algs. And yeah, let's think. What else do you need to work on? Oh yeah, you should also practice good pair choices. So this is a very common bad habit in lots of, you know, intermediate solvers, is that they don't have good pair choices or pair order. And pair order matters because if you do a slightly worse third pair into an amazing fourth pair, that is way better than an easy third pair into a really atrocious fourth pair, if that makes sense. So the way you practice good pair order and good pair choices is by doing untimed solves where you just cited untimed solves where it's just like an FMC solve, and you treat the entire CFOP solve as an FMC solve. So let's think of it this way. Let's go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 move cross but free pair, and 3 move pair, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then, alright, this is awful. But like, you would want to be able to, you would see this and you'd be like, alright, this is an awful case, how can I execute it in the fewest moves? So maybe like, I don't know, I'm not going to go into, you know, how you would solve that case perfectly, but point is, you want to just really exercise your creativity by just doing CFOP FMC solves and trying to really think of it in a streamlined way. That'll really help your pair order. What will also help your pair order massively, and people really underestimate this, most cubers have never done this before, is reconstruct fast cubers. Most people never do this, and it's, you know, to their detriment because they're missing out. Because you could take almost any single solve, even if it's a bad solve, for any world-class 3x3 solver, any, you know, top 50, top 25 solver. You could take a solve of theirs, any solve, and you could learn like 10 things from it just by reconstructing it. And I'm not saying you should read reconstructions that other people have done. I'm saying that you should reconstruct other people by yourself. You should, you know, get the scrambles, and then look at the video and go frame by frame if you need to, if that's what you need, and just figure out every move and figure out what they did. And the reason why it's so important for you to reconstruct instead of somebody else reconstructing and you just reading it, is you learn a lot more by doing it yourself. Because you're looking at the scramble and you don't know the solution yet. You're still thinking to yourself, how did Felix or how did Max solve this, or whoever? How did they solve this? How did they do this cross? What cross did they do? How did they do the first pair? What first pair did they do? You know, questions like that. Those are really good questions to ask yourself while you're reconstructing someone like that. And I highly recommend you start with Felix or Max or Patrick or Lucas or, I don't know, a bunch of other 3x3 solvers that are insane. That have just like really good pair choices, really good, just really smart ways of approaching the order of their pair. Because pair order is extremely important. And also pair order goes hand in hand with with 2-pair blindfolded practice, because instead of looking at 1 pair as its own, you can look at 2 pairs and be like, okay, how can I solve both of these pairs in a way that's the best? So you're sort of thinking at 2 pairs at a time, and that way you'll think of it a lot better. You'll start to like be like, oh, if I insert this second pair in a weird way, then if I insert this first pair in a weird way, then my second pair is going to be a lot better, which was the case for one of your solves. So yeah, that's me rambling for a long time about what you need to work on. That's pretty much it. We've been streaming for around an hour, 48 minutes. That's pretty good. But yeah, this was fun. I hope you found this helpful, Dylan. Sorry if this was a little long. But yeah, I hope you found this helpful. And I'll see you later. See ya.